The Department of Labor is once again pleased to be here to update the nation on various labor-related matters. Firstly, let's look at what the staff at the Department of Labor has been doing to ensure workers' income assistance claims are processed and forwarded to Social Security for payment. Over the past 4 to 5 weeks, the Department of Labor ensured claims from verified qualified applicants were processed efficiently and passed on to Social Security for further verification and payment. It is important to note that this exercise is a time-consuming process, and the Department of Labor has made sure everything is done efficiently and that people affected get their benefits under the Social Security COVID-19 Relief Fund. Over the Labor Day weekend, the Department of Labor staff members were able to process over 1,300 applications. As I speak, there are staff members working from home this weekend processing application to ensure that those persons affected can benefit from the COVID-19 Relief Fund. To date, the Department of Labor Syncits has sent 4,863 verified applications to Social Security. The Department of Labor NEOC has sent 1,981 to Social Security. Together, 6,844 verified applications were sent to Social Security for payment from Syncits and NEOC. According to Social Security, the total sent to accounts for payment is approximately 3,527, or 52% of the applications received from the Department of Labor in Syncits and NEOC. Please be reminded that this payment is for 3 months, April, May, and June 2020 in the first instance. And to qualify, you must fit into one of these categories as a result of COVID-19. 1, you must be laid off. 2, reduce hours, taking your monthly earnings below $1,000. 3, severed or your position made redundant. And 4, a registered self-employed person. The Department of Labor has taken several steps to prevent fraud and people claiming who were not affected by the pandemic. Please to be patient. The payments will be made every day until the 3 months commitment is made. We also hope some people will return to work as the economic activity or lockdown continues to be eased little by little. The Department of Labor is appealing to all employers who indicated in the past weeks that they were impacted by the pandemic to please notify us via email about the present status of your employees as the lockdown continues to be eased little by little. Simply speaking, if your employees who were laid off, they were now called back out to work, please to indicate to the Department of Labor. If their hours have now been increased, please to notify the Department of Labor. The Department of Labor is concerned about the safety, health, and welfare of all workers, even as they return to work part-time or full-time. Secondly, I want to address holiday with pay during the pandemic. It is lawful, it is correct for an employee to commence or go on annual paid holiday during the pandemic. Let me repeat, it is lawful, it is correct for an employee to commence or go on annual paid holidays during the pandemic. Such annual paid holidays shall be given and taken in one period, or where the employer and the worker so agree, in 2 periods, and not otherwise. And every such agreement shall be in writing by both the employer and worker. Employers must not apply annual paid holidays in snippets. For example, on those lockdown days, for example, today is a lockdown day. A worker was scheduled to work today, but due to the lockdown, that worker is unable to work. An employer must not tell that worker to use a vacation day. And if next week we have another lockdown day again, the employer must not tell the employee take another vacation day. And if another day is the lockdown on the weekend, the employer must not again tell that worker to take another holiday with pay. It must be taken in one period or where there's agreement in 2 periods. Thirdly, I want to address the issue of reduced wages or salaries cut during the pandemic. This situation has been very difficult for both employers and workers. Some employers reach out to the Labor Commissioner's office, indicating their strong desire to keep their staff employed. These employers do not want to lay off their staff or terminate them due to redundancy. The proposed staff take a pay cut for maximum 3 months. The Labor Commissioner's office prefers these workers to have half or 3/4 of a bread during these difficult, uncertain times than to be laid off and have no bread. It is within this in mind that the Commissioner's office has indicated to these employers that we will support their proposal of a temporary reduction in wages for a maximum of 3 months. Let me repeat, it is with this in mind that the Commissioner's office has indicated to those employers that we will support their proposal of a temporary reduction in wages for a maximum of 3 months. Another issue I want to address is employees who are laid off currently. Over the past few days, the Department of Labor has been inundated with calls and queries from employees who were laid off by the employer. These calls surround what benefits are due to them while they are laid off, and if they are entitled to severance payment. Firstly, according to law, no employee is entitled to any wages while he or she is laid off. Number 2, according to the Protection of Employment Act, the layoff period is a maximum of 12 weeks. Thirdly, after 12 weeks, the employee may request his or her employer to treat his or her employment as terminated, and the employee shall then be entitled to severance payment if he or she has worked for the same employer for at least 1 year. The Commissioner's office is strongly urging and appealing to all employees who are laid off. If the layoff period go beyond 12 weeks, we are urging them not to request to be terminated. The Labor Commissioner's office is strongly urging and appealing to these employees that if the layoff period go beyond 12 weeks, that they must not request to be terminated. We prefer to have as many persons employed as possible. As the lockdown continues to ease little by little, the Commissioner's office is optimistic that these employees who are currently laid off will resume work shortly. I want to reassure applicants who have outstanding severance and long service claims at the Department of Labor that these matters will be settled soonest. In conclusion, I want to thank our Senior Minister and Minister of Labor, the Honorable Vance Amory, our Permanent Secretary, Ms. Sharon Rattan, Mr. Maynard and the staff at Social Security, Mr. Gary Leibert, Chief Labor Officer in Nevis and his staff, the staff at the Ministry and Department of Labor in St. Kitts, and to the general public. And I want to wish all mothers out there a happy Mother's Day tomorrow. Thank you.
As we all are aware, the hurricane season is from June the 1st to November the 30th each year. All leading institutions have indicated that we can expect an above-average hurricane season, and as such, we here in St. Kitts and Nevis need to prepare for that. Based on that, we are looking at 2 leading institutions, the Colorado State University as well as the University of Arizona, and both of them are hinting that we can expect a above average hurricane season. The Colorado State University has indicated that we can expect 16 storms developing, 8 of which may develop into hurricane, and out of these 8, 4 of which may develop into major hurricane. Whereas the University of Arizona is hinting higher figures, where they're suggesting that we can see 19 storms developing, 10 of which can develop into hurricanes, and out of these 10, 5 of them can develop into major hurricanes. And when we talk about major hurricanes, we are speaking about categories 3, 4, and 5. As such, it is really important that we keep this in mind as we still deal with the whole COVID pandemic situation. The reason that we are looking at this projection in terms of an above average season, because we are anticipating above average warm sea surface temperatures. And as such, we are also anticipating a possible La Nina developing this fall. And when we say La Nina conditions usually allows for favorable development of hurricanes in the Atlantic Ocean. Now, I just want to give you some basic preparedness tips as we move into the hurricane season. And I'm going to look at from a household level as well as the businesses level. It is always encouraging to ask the family to have a basic disaster plan in place. For example, know where you're going to go in the event that you are asked to evacuate. Have some kind of non-perishables on stock. Also, it is important that each family member know their responsibility. In terms of the businesses, though, you're looking at a similar approach. The businesses are encouraged to have a disaster plan, and they also encouraged to ensure that each member of staff know their role before, during, and after any potential impact from a storm. And it's also important for the business sector to ensure that you start backing up your files, because you never know when a storm may impact us. Now, some important things to remember and to note and keep in mind. Know your emergency contacts. For example, the police, the hospital, NEMO, Red Cross, etc. These are just some examples. Also, know where you're going to get your information from. You need to know your authoritative source for your information. And again, these info, whether we're looking at NEMO, the Met Services, or NEMD. And also, we are encouraging the general public, be ready to respond and act if you are called upon. To end, start preparing now. Do not wait until you're under the threat of a storm to start preparing.
The past 24 hours, during police operations and routine patrols, 6 persons were arrested for breach of the curfew. So far to date, a total of 126 persons have been arrested for violations under the emergency regulations. Today and tomorrow are 24-hour curfew days. Residents are reminded that the shelter-in-place order is still in effect. This means that every person shall remain confined to your place of residence, inclusive of your yard space. I emphasize yard space. I emphasize your place of residence, as it is not okay to be at a friend's residence or another family member's residence, or even at the back of a closed bar to socialize. Regulation 10 provides that no person shall host, attend, or visit a private party, recreational or competitive sporting event, or other types of public entertainment, banquet, ball, or reception, any other ceremony in any public facility or place, any bars, rum shop, or any other type of social event. Utilizing public sporting facilities for recreational purposes is also prohibited. All religious and educational places of instruction or worship shall remain closed. However, these activities are not prohibited if conducted by electronic or virtual means. These provisions are intended to enhance public health and reduce our risk of infection. Let us all cooperate with the authorities and comply with the provisions of the emergency regulations. Thank you.
The World Health Organization continues its robust global surveillance of the COVID-19 pandemic, reporting 3,855,788 confirmed cases with almost 266,000 deaths. In St. Kitts and Nevis, we have sampled and tested a total of 327 persons. 312 persons were confirmed negative, while 15 were confirmed positive. Of the 15 positive cases, 14 persons have recovered. I repeat, of the 15 positive cases, 14 persons have recovered. To date, we have 0 deaths. There is currently 0 results pending. A total of 57 persons remain in quarantine, 56 in a government-assigned facility, while 1 person is quarantined at home. 1 person remains in isolation and is recovering. To date, 756 persons have been released from quarantine. Though we are experiencing an increase in the number of persons recovering from the virus, let us not become complacent. Today, COVID-19 is actually a part of our lives. From our interactions and conversations to the way we shop for groceries and work, our lives have been changed by this new coronavirus. As a nation, we must adapt to this new norm and do all we can to remain strong and healthy. I encourage you to continue to adhere to all safety guidelines, including wearing face masks in public, sanitizing your hands regularly, and maintaining the physical distance measures of at least 6 feet between persons. Your actions thus far have helped to contain the first wave of the COVID-19 infections. We are all encouraged to work together, doing our part to reduce the impact of this disease. Remember, maintaining the overall health of the people of St. Kitts and Nevis continues to be our individual and collective responsibility. Thank you.
Over the past 24 hours, the 311 hotline has received a total of 21 calls. In St. Kitts, the 911 has received a total of 58 calls, with 19 being calls related to police business and 1 related to fire. At the St. Kitts NEOC, there were 6 calls received over the last 24 hours, 1 related to police, a person not wearing a mask. There were 2 health-related calls, 1 related to utilities, and 2 requests for permission. The EOC on Nevis has received 15 calls over the last 24 hours. I would like to thank, on behalf of the National Disaster Coordinator, Abdia Samuel, the members of the NEOC as they continue their Herculean efforts in our national fight against COVID-19. We also want to thank the service of the nurses and the security forces who continue to support all of the activities from the NEOC. I also wanted to make mention of the presentation by Mr. Elmer Burke, who is the Senior Met Officer and one of our closest stakeholders at this time at NEMA. We don't want persons to believe that we have forgotten that we are fast approaching the hurricane season. It was thought that with everything that was going on internationally, but specifically locally, related to our fight against this disease, would have been so overwhelming that perhaps we would begin to work in the background to prepare for the Atlantic hurricane season. As Mr. Burke has said, it is expected to be above average, and we are asking persons to remember your great work during our fight against this COVID-19. You have done everything that NEMA has been reaching out to you over the years, encouraging you to do at hurricane season time. We are just asking you to replicate those actions. Continue to be prepared. We are going to be all right. We are going to be all right, and NEMA, for sure, will be doing exactly what we need to be doing at this time of year. We do this and we accomplish much of our efforts through the collaboration of our many stakeholders. So we want to thank you once again, Mr. Burke, and we want to thank you. Remember, this is what I want to leave with you today. Know who your district managers are. If you are uncertain, call into the National Emergency Operations Center, tell the operator where you live, and ask them to share the information as to who you may call in the event that something hurricane-related occurs. Thank you so very much.